fortitude, aggressiveness, sometimes being patient, and the wherewithal to be shrewd are typical characteristics of successful traders. However, according to Investopedia, successful traders have rare characteristics, and the publication reports that 80% of traders either fail or quit. The publication also recognizes that one successful strategy, of course, is to identify strategies which make more money than they lose. That may sound simple and obvious, but for some, it's not always the case. Anmol Singh made his name as a highly paid consultant in 2015, and he launched his company, LiveTraders. And since that time, he's trained over 1,000 traders and investors to success. And since his tutelage, many of them have gone on to run their own hedge funds. Singh is also a published author. He's the author of Preparing for Success, 10 Keys to Making It in Life, which is intended to give you helpful hints and tips to live a productive and successful life, and is not about trading. Singh joined me this week to tell me more. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. And well, if you're ready, I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program, my friend. I'll wish you a happy Thursday, and I'm super excited to be with you to talk all about your career and investing and trading. Good to be with you this afternoon, and thank you so very much for being here.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to chatting with you as well.
Absolutely. Now, I know that the bulk of your career got started in 2015 when you made a name for yourself by launching the company LiveTraders. So I'm wondering if you can tell me all about the great work that you do.
Yeah, definitely. So I got involved in the stock market in 2010. So I started trading the markets. And then in 2015, I started LiveTraders as a way to guide and coach traders and investors and, other people looking to get involved in the stock market, because it could be pretty daunting when you're starting out. It just seems fascinating, but it could be pretty complicated. So we simplify that down for most people looking to get started. So started that in 2015, and I've been doing that ever since.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you've helped and trained over 1,000 traders and investors, whether it be helping them with their funds or other investments. So I'm wondering, what's the biggest lesson that you teach people when you work with them, and what have you learned about yourself since starting this work?
I think the biggest learning lesson has been that your mindset does control everything, because I work with so many different traders and investors from different facets of life, right? Some have been successful executives in high-paying companies with high-paying jobs prior to coming to the stock market. And some of them are, like just day-to-day guys. They have a regular retail job. Maybe they're driving a truck, So I've seen all facets of people and different mindsets. So what's been fascinating is how we all have a very interesting element of trying to be right all the time. And I think that's one of the things that holds people back in the stock market, because it's not about being right. It's about following a systematic process. So I think the learning lesson has been that everybody's very different, but they're also very same. And your psychology controls your success level.
Yeah, and well, tell me, what are some of the trends or sort of the forecast of the market that you're most fascinated by as we end 2022 and go into 2023?
Yeah, so I think for a lot of investors, it's been a tough year if you invest in the stock market. For traders, it's been great. It's been one of the best years for trading the stock market because as a trader, we're looking for that back and forth volatility, which is great. But for investors, it's already been a tough year. The markets have been down, 30, 35% for this year. And I think next year is going to be very similar. Next year is going to be another year of maybe a slow drip down in the markets. So I feel like it's going to take at least 2 to 3 years for the markets to start coming back up. So I think people have to be very cautious, and I think they should focus on good companies, good stocks that are not going anywhere, but not focus specifically on speculative stocks that there's some stocks that are never going to come back. So I think the biggest mistake people will make in this market would be to buy stocks that they think, oh my God, this stock used to be this high, now it's so low. But that is low for a reason. So, I would tempt them not to get involved with stocks that are down a lot.
And for anyone that wants to get involved in this sort of career in trading and investing, I'm wondering your thoughts on the advice you would give them before they take the plunge into making this a career.
Yes, I think first they'll have to determine, are they even curious about the markets? Do they actually want to learn? Is there a genuine desire for you to want to learn and be curious about it? Or do you just want to get in it for the money? Because if you want to get into the money, then it's going to be a hard career for you. Because if you don't have the passion or the interest for the markets, it's going to be very hard for you to make it. So I think you really have to be curious, and you gotta like the markets to be wanting to learn about it. So I think that's a big element. And then the other thing people have to determine is how much time do they have to devote to this. So they already have another business, they already have another job. Maybe they can't do this full time. Then they're going to have to take trades and investments that are a bit more longer in time horizon, that don't require them to be in front of the computer all day, right? But if you're somebody, you're like, I just quit my job, or I'm home now, I got all the time in the world, then you are more likely to be able to do active trading, for which you'll have to be in front of your computer when the market's opening. So I think determining how much time you have to devote to it and what your interest level is, those are the things people need to determine before they get into it. And then also their personality type. Are you more short-term personality, or are you more long-term personality, right? If you're a long-term personality, you're more likely to become an investor. If you have a short-term personality, then you're more likely to become a trader.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you also help people with sort of the psychology when it comes to trading and investing. And I'm wondering, because I know that you've helped thousands of traders with deals worldwide from a psychology perspective, and the behaviors and the issues which arise from sort of the high stakes nature of this life. So tell me more about helping people really understand this psychological angle of what you do every day.
Yeah, definitely. So, trading can bring out the best in people. It can bring out the worst in people too, right? It brings out all emotional spectrum, right? It's almost like a roller coaster, right? If you're doing really well in your trading, you feel great. You feel like at the top of the world. You can do no wrong. And then when you're struggling, you can be really down on yourself, right? It's very similar to like a peak performance sport, right? If you're playing the NBA, not everybody's going to make it to the NBA. Some people are going to be great basketball players, but they're not going to make it to the top leagues. So trading is very similar to sport in that relation. And mindset has a big role in that, because learning how to control your losses, right? What's the biggest mistake investors make? They're in a stock, they're in a cryptocurrency, it's going down, but they don't get out. Why? Oh, it might come back up. Now that's hope. Hope is not a strategy, right? Hope is not a strategy. It might come back up. You don't want to live on might. You want to live on, is it going to come back up or not? So you got to learn how to take your losses. And then also controlling greed on the upside, right? You're in a trade, you're in a position. I think a lot of cryptocurrency people made this mistake. They're up, nicely on their Bitcoins, but they don't sell any. Well, the profit is only made when you sell something. Otherwise, it's not a profit. So they never sold, and now it's back down again. They could have easily sold and bought back in cheaper. So learning how to control your mindset and not getting greedy. No, Bitcoin's going to go to $1 million. It's going to go to $100,000. It might. but it's going to have its ebb and flow. Nothing goes up in a straight direction. So learning how to sell it when it's going up and then buying it back is how they're going to make money as a trader.
Well, everything in moderation, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and all I have to tell you, buddy, I'm a long-suffering Detroit Lions fan. So when they were going through their 0-16 season, we adopted the phrase that hope isn't a strategy, right? In life and liberty and everything in between, right?
Correct. Yes.
Absolutely. And Amal, I know that you have also published a book to try to help people through this journey. So tell me about the book, what it's all about, and what inspired you to write it, buddy.
Yeah, definitely. So the book is called Prepping for Success, 10 Keys for Making It in Life. So that book has nothing to do with trading. It's purely a personal development book. I originally published it for myself. It was meant to be notes for myself, to myself, for myself. I wrote it as a notes, the things that I need to do in my own life to, be successful and get to the next level. So I wrote it for myself, and then eventually a few people read it, and they were like, you know what, this is a great book. You should actually publish it. You should turn this into a book. And I said, okay, if it can actually help people, then sure, why not? So I published it into a book, and it's got great reviews on Amazon, and people are, taking really action on the book, I'm really happy to see that. So the book is all about personal development, 10 keys that people need to employ in their life to get to where they want to go. And that could be personal goals, relationship goals, wealth goals, success goals, anything in life, because a true successful life means being successful in all areas of your life. Because you're not really successful. Let's say you have all this money, but your relationships are a mess. Your fitness is a mess. Your health is a mess, right? That's not really success. Or on the other hand, you might be the fittest person with six-pack abs, right? You got a great relationship, but maybe you're broke. Yeah, that's not success either. So true success is having success in each and every area of your life, and not only being that, but being okay with where you're at in each of those areas. So I think that that's kind of what we touch upon in the book is 10 things that people need to do to get to where they want to be.
Yeah, it's all about finding a middle ground and then excelling, isn't it?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I also know that you're involved in several and various other business ventures, my friend. I know that you're an angel investor, and you've also funded some startup companies. So I'm wondering if you can tell me about the passion you have for entrepreneurship and why it's important to you.
Yeah, I think for me, funding the next startups that are going to be the next big companies is obviously a passion of mine, and I'm really investing in entrepreneurs because if they have a passion for something, they're going to make it happen. So whenever I invest in a company, because you know what, like I have a certain set of skills, but I might not be skilled at everything, right? And maybe for example, take Elon Musk. He started a PayPal right back in the day, and then he moved into Tesla, then he moved into SpaceX, and he is not a rocket scientist. He doesn't know how to do SpaceX, but you can invest in people, right? You can hire people that know their craft and help them get to where they want to be. They might have a lot of brains, they have the knowledge, they might not have the money, but I have the money, I might not have the knowledge. So it's a collaboration of efforts of people that creates the next big thing. So I can't really mention too many of the startup companies I'm involved with just because of the NDA and stuff. But like a cryptocurrency that came out in 2019 is one that I'm an investor in. It's called Algorand. So that's an example of an investment that I'm making in the future of cryptography and how this industry evolves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to congratulate you on your business success. It seems like you're making inroads in that regard. So I'm also curious to ask you about leadership and success. How do you think that those two things are interconnected?
Yeah, so I think to be successful, you have to be a leader. And by leader, I don't mean you need to have a lot of people you're leading. Sometimes it just means leading yourself, right? Like sometimes it means, can you lead yourself to where you want to be? So success and leadership are correlated. To be successful, you need to be a good leader, but you don't have to be successful to be a great leader. So I think that's one of the things people have to keep in mind. And leading yourself is as important as leading others, right? Where are you leading yourself? If you ask yourself that question, where am I leading my life? Am I doing what I need to do, right? Am I doing all the things that I should be doing right now? Am I leading myself in the right direction? Because once you can lead yourself, then you're more likely to be able to lead others. But you're not going to be able to lead others if you can't lead yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that point, I'm all, buddy, outside of hosting this podcast, I work with businesses to promote the need to hire more folks with disabilities because I was born with a cerebral palsy. So one of my passions in life is to extend opportunities for individuals with disabilities to enter the workforce. So when we look at business from an inclusion standpoint, how do you define inclusion from a business perspective?
Yeah, I think sometimes a lot of people, the world as a whole, people. I think it's a lack of awareness. Sometimes people just don't have the awareness or the understanding of the disabilities, and they might take it the other way. So I think it's important to create the knowledge and awareness in the whole world so people are aware of that. And then number two, leading by the actual skills, right? Leading by the skills, showing what you're able to do, showing what your capability to do. So I think inclusiveness is something that will come over time. I think a lot of it is a learning curve because people have misconceptions. But I think more the awareness goes higher, more people are educated on these topics, more inclusivity can be created in the environment.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, I'm also curious to ask you about business diversification. And what do you think is the fastest way to sort of diversify a business and its potential?
Yeah, I think before starting to diversify, people need to look at what are synergistic things you can do. So like, let's say you have a business, you sell an X product, right? Then the biggest, asset a business has is its customers, is its clients, right? So the best thing you can do to diversify is honestly to survey your clients. So like for something we do in our business is called a customer insight report. You create a customer insight report as a survey and you send it out to all your existing clients. What are other ways we can help you? What are other things we can do for you, right? So you're letting the customers tell you what they want, right? Tell you what they can help with. And then you as a business can take those findings from this survey and say, you know what? These are things we might be able to provide them. These are things we might be able to provide them. Now, you just went from one product to maybe two or three. So you're diversifying within that existing business. I think a lot of people look at diversification the wrong way, that they have a business, they need to have another business here, another business there. Not necessarily. It might just be different products in the same business. So I think creating a customer insight survey and finding out from your customers directly is the best way to go about it.
Yeah, and Amal, tell me, what's the biggest and best lesson that you think you've learned in business that you may also apply to your personal life as well?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that I talk about a lot in my book is called a success key. It's called integrity, being a man or woman of integrity, being a person of integrity. And what that means is doing what you said you're going to do and then doing it when you said you're going to do it. I mean, that changes everything, not just your business life, your personal life too. Like whatever you said, whatever comes out of your mouth, don't just say things. Are you actually going to do it? And then doing it when you said you're going to do it. Oh, I'm going to finish this by Monday. And then Monday comes, you didn't do it. So your lack of integrity, right? And somebody calls you, colleague calls you, your family calls you, like, hey, I'm just in the middle of something. Let me call you back. And you never call them back. That's a lack of integrity. So noticing those little things that we might completely miss or ignore in our life and seeing where there's a lack of integrity in your life and then restoring it. Apologizing is not going to fix it. You don't never say, oh, I'm sorry, and I'll do it again. No, it's not going to fix anything. You put things in place to ensure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, and I'm also curious to ask you about your life priorities because, I always say that we make time in life for the stuff that we prioritize and that is important to us. So tell me, what are some of your life priorities and how does that really guide how you live your life?
My number one priority is to be the best version of myself. Not the best version of anybody else, not the best version of people I look up to, just the best version of me. Am I doing what I need to do in my life to move the needle, right? If I want to go somewhere in my life, am I doing those action steps to get me there? Or am I just sitting there and hoping and wishing they happen, right? So my only number one priority is do the best that I can, be the best version of myself. So if I can look at myself in the mirror a few years from now, I can be proud of what I've done, right? And that has to come internally. So that's my number one priority is my own mindset. Number two priority would be being a person of integrity and having morality, right? Having spirituality is a big priority for me as well. So I think those are things that I really, really believe in. And then the business and stuff, all those things come later for me in my priority list.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as we wrap up the year, Anmol, I'm also curious to ask you about what do you think you've been most grateful for this year, and how are you planning to challenge yourself to be that just 1% better next year than you were this year, buddy? What are you looking forward to accomplishing next year?
Yeah, great question. So for me, it's like the whole year, the best lesson I've just had a lot of lessons this year, right? So I'm grateful for everything I've learned. I've had a lot of hardships this year in the past few years as well. I've had a lot of good things happen to me. I've had a lot of bad things happen to me. But I think in every both the good things and the bad things, I've learned something that's made me better, like a new perspective that I might not have had before, a new lesson that I might not have had before. Like, so the silver lining in everything, that everything happens for a reason. So I think the biggest lesson for me has been that, you know what, I'm taking all these lessons, I'm acting on them, and next year those lessons are what's going to make me better. So you talk about being 1% better, 2% better. How are you going to get better? Well, those lessons are what's going to make you better. So I'm grateful for all the lessons that I've had over the past few years.
Yeah, absolutely. And the holiday season is coming up in a couple of weeks, and for some cultures and religions, we're already in the middle of it. So tell me, if money wasn't an object, or if you could have one thing at the top of your holiday wish list this year, what would that be?
My holiday wish this year is going to be to the universe to continue to guide me in the right direction, and to continue to support me, and to continue to give me that willpower and motivation to achieve the things that I want to achieve. And also for me to remain humble, for me to remain connected to people. So I think my biggest wish is on those lines, and I wish the same for the rest of humanity. I wish the same for everybody else, is that everybody else gets to where they want to be, and they have the motivation and the willpower and the inspiration to achieve those things.
Yeah, well, you just inspired me to ask one final follow-up question before I ask you my last one. And it's because one of the reasons I wanted to start this podcast was I looked at the world, and I was sort of alarmed of how many forces in the world are sort of attempting to pull us apart. So one of the reasons I wanted to start this podcast was to have authentic conversations on how to really move the needle of societal progress forward and build more bridges of unity. So when you look at the world today, what do you think is the key to building more bridges of unity where we can all sort of succeed in society?
I think it's to have healthy discussions and collaboration. I think a lot of people these days only hang around with people that have the same viewpoint. I think that's the wrong thing to do. Because if you're only hanging out with people that are in the same viewpoint or share the same views on things as you do, then you're not growing. You're not learning anything new, because you're all just in an echo chamber sharing the same views. So I think it's a healthy thing for humanity, for the rest of the people, is to have conversations with all these different people that you might disagree with, that you might completely disagree with, but being able to sit there in that conversation, completely detached emotionally, but and trying to put yourself in their perspective and trying to look at it. Because there's, as they say, the truth always lies somewhere in the middle. There's your side, there's my side, and then there's the truth. The truth always lies somewhere in the middle. So I think learning to have healthy debates, because that's what grows your mind, right? Like, if I'm hanging out with people who agree with me all the time, I'm not growing. I didn't learn anything new. But if I'm hanging out with people that might challenge me a little bit, they might push me a little bit, they might disagree with me a little bit, now I'm getting a new perspective. So I think that's how everybody grows and evolves better. And that's how you also have empathy for other people that you disagree with.
Yeah, and I'm one of the tenets that I live my life by is that life is a constant game of learning, isn't it?
100%. Constant gain of learning. The only question is, everybody's getting those lessons. The question is, are you learning from those lessons?
And implementing them, right?
100% implementation is absolute imperative.
Yeah, absolutely. And buddy, my final question for you today has to do with your own personal and professional legacy. You touched on it earlier, but I'll I'll give you the space and the platform to tell me, when you look at your personal and professional legacy, how do you want that to be defined?
I want my legacy to be defined by the results that I can deliver to others, right? If I'm able to impact others, influence others in a way that improves their quality of their life, either financial life or spiritual life or health life, that's more than enough legacy for me. Nothing makes me more happy than getting an email from a client who says, you know what, I'm able to do the XYZ now that I wasn't able to 2 years ago. So I think the legacy for me, I want to be defined by the impact that I create, by the lives that might be impacted.
Yeah, paying it forward is what life is all about, isn't it?
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. And Anmol, tell me, if people want to get connected with you, my friend, what's the best way they can do that?
Yeah, definitely. So I think if people are interested in learning more about the stock market, then the website is livetraders.com. That's where they can go and get our intro courses and intro guides completely for free. And then if people are interested to learn more about my book, they can, visit preppingforsuccess.com. And then obviously they can always get it on Amazon, Walmart, Barnes and Nobles, wherever they buy their books. So that's the best way to get that. And if they want to connect with me, Twitter or Instagram is the best place to do that. And my username is the same on both channels. It's Delta90, DELTA9NETY. It's the same on Instagram and Twitter, and that would be kind of the best ways to get connected.
Well, fabulous, Anmol. I really want to thank you for engaging in conversation about trading, investing, life, and everything in between. But your work in the space and time on behalf is most appreciated. And I want to thank you for being here this afternoon.
Well, thanks for having me. It was great chatting with you.